Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again. Today I'm going to go over some quotes from Seneca. I am working on the more detailed analysis or presentation, I guess I should say, of Stoic physics. Um, I'm trying to work out exactly how I want to tackle the situation, the material, and so I worked on it a little bit over the weekend, but I don't have it ready yet. I have two small children and a day job, and sometimes that gets in the way of things like philosophy videos on YouTube. I do want to say briefly that it's not my intent. In fact, you can probably hear my children fighting in the background. It's not my intent to necessarily make this channel entirely about Stoicism. I'm going to go over that right now, first because I think it's very useful when people are feeling stressed, and because it's a big influence on me and on how I look at the world. And it's also something that I continue to draw from as a source of inspiration and insight. So I'm trying out a new recording program today. Hopefully everything goes well. We can hope for the best, one of those eupathia, good emotions. Anyway, I hope, like the other ones, you find this useful. And here we go. Okay, so this is my long neglected blog. And here we have selections from Seneca's Moral Letters that I made in March of 2015. So just like the other ones, these are not going to be selected for current events or in any particular order. They're just quotes I liked from Seneca. So here we go. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. The spirit and the intellect cannot be of different hues. If the spirit is sound, if it is properly adjusted and has dignity and self-control, the intellect will be sober and sensible too. And if the former is tainted, the later will be tainted and infected as well. If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. No man's good by accident. Virtue has to be learnt. Pleasure is a poor and petty thing. No value should be set on it. It's something we share with dumb animals. The minutest, most insignificant creatures scutter after it. Glory's an empty, changeable thing, as fickle as the weather. Poverty's no evil to anyone unless he kicks against it. Death is not an evil. What is it then? The one law mankind has that is free of all discrimination. Superstition is an idiotic heresy. It fears those it should love. It dishonors those it worships. For what difference does it make whether you deny the gods or bring them into disrepute? These are things which should be learnt, and not just learnt, but learnt by heart. I do not agree with those who recommend a stormy life and plunge straight into the breakers, waging a spirited struggle against worldly obstacles every day of their lives. The wise man will put up with these things, not go out of his way to meet them. He will prefer a state of peace to a state of war. It does not profit a man much to have managed to discard his own failings if he must ever be at loggerheads with other people's. Give your whole mind to philosophy, sit at her side, and pay her constant court, and an enormous gap will widen between yourself and other men. You'll end up far in advance of all mankind, and not far behind the gods themselves. Would you like to know what the actual difference between yourself and the gods would be? They will exist for longer. I'm suffering pain, you say. Well, does it stop your suffering if you endure it in a womanish fashion? In the same way as the enemy can do far more damage to your army if it is in full retreat, every trouble that may come our way presses harder on the one who has turned tail and is giving ground. We mustn't take on more than we can manage. You shouldn't attempt to absorb all that you want to, just what you've got room for. Simply adopt the right approach, and you will end up with room for all you want. The more the mind takes in, the more it expands. The many speak highly of you, But have you any grounds for satisfaction with yourself if you are the kind of person the many understand? Your merits should not be outward facing. An ordinary journey will be incomplete if you come to a stop in the middle of it, or anywhere short of your destination, but life is never incomplete if it is an honorable one. At whatever point you leave life, if you leave it in the right way, it is whole. All right, well, you might notice my hair looks different than it did at the beginning of the video. I actually started recording this in the morning, and then my kids got into a fight right outside my office door, and my neighbor decided to trim his entire yard using only a weed whacker, so the noise level was just ridiculous, and you could hear it on the recording. So I had to cut it there, and I came back and finished this. It's currently 9 o'clock at night. Girls are in bed, so we can spend a little time on this. But I've probably used up enough of your time for this video, so I don't want to go too long here. There are, I guess, maybe a couple points about Seneca. So Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome. Epictetus was a slave and then a Stoic teacher. And Seneca was a man of letters. So he moved in really the upper crust of Roman society. He was very, I rather like Seneca because his approach is, he's very pragmatic in his approach. He's willing to use quotes and insights from any philosopher of any philosophical school. And he was still very much a man of culture. He lived a life and did interesting political things and wrote stories and did all kinds of things that I think are great. And yet he also had this deep commitment to philosophy, especially towards the end of his life. So I hope you enjoyed those excerpts. I will put a link below to the copy on Amazon if you want, to the translation I used on from Amazon if you want to pick up a copy, and a link to my blog if for some reason you want to see the original post. Hopefully within a couple days I will be back with my presentation on Stoic physics, and from there we'll see where we end up. Maybe we'll talk some more about Stoicism, and maybe we'll transition and talk about something else. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed the video, please like, please subscribe to the channel if you think there's more than one interesting video here, and share it where you feel is appropriate. All right, have a great night.